Just a couple days ago, I posted a video about the PolarPro Katana Mavic tray, turning your Mavic Pro into a handheld stabilized camera. And I didn't say it in that video, but most of those shots were actually shot in D-Log because I knew that I'd be also reviewing PolarPro's new Aurora Cinematic Color Presets. These presets packages are actually a collection of 12 different lookup tables designed for use with different drone and action cameras. They have 5 specific packages. One for the Mavic Pro, the Phantom 4 Pro and Advanced, the Phantom 4 Standard, the Zenmuse X3 and Osmo, and the GoPro ProTune Edition. Just to get everyone up to speed, shooting in log format or flat format for the GoPro is a way for us to squeeze more dynamic range and more color grading options out of our footage in our cameras. The only issue is when you shoot that way, your footage looks very flat with no contrast and no saturation. So essentially, using these color presets with D-Log or flat shot footage can provide cinematic color styles with no loss of quality to your footage. These presets are compatible with Adobe Premiere, SpeedGrade, After Effects, Photoshop, as well as Final Cut 10 and DaVinci Resolve. So when you get these LUT presets, like here's the GoPro ProTune preset, you get the actual files here, but you also get a README and an actual video showing how to set up in Premiere and how to set up in DaVinci Resolve. So that's very helpful. And then here are your actual .cube files, which are your presets. You can actually go to PolarPro's website here and they actually give a description of all the different color styles that you may run through. So we are in Adobe Premiere right now and I have some Mavic Pro clips. We're going to start with Mavic Pro. So how we're doing this is we highlight the clip, go to Windows, Lumetri Color, and then we're in the Creative tab, not Correction or Curves, but we're in Creative. Open up Look, hit Browse. We're gonna start with Mavic Pro footage, so I'm gonna go to the Mavic Pro, get in there, and now we have a selection of our .cube presets. So these are our lookup tables. We have Classic, Deep, Electra, Night, Morpheus, and Purity. And you see that for some of these, we also have the cool and the warm options. So let's start with Classic and just see what we got. We're going to click it once and hit Open. And you can instantly see that all of a sudden we got a lot of color back into this image. I would almost dare say too much color. It looks a little bit too vibrant. And that's where the intensity slider comes into play. You can kind of roll it back a little bit. I wouldn't go any higher than, I don't know, 90-ish, maybe 95. And so really it's that easy. I mean, we've already applied our effect. We can also go through some other looks. Let's see what Deep is. So Deep has a little bit more of a natural saturation. And they also push the blacks and the shadows a bit for a deep, rich look. They also have warm and cool options for this. So if we go to warm, we can instantly see we have a much warmer image. If we go to cool, we see that we have a bluer image. It looks a little bit cooler to us. Let's also go to Electra. So I understand Electra is a bit more saturated. You can see those greens have really popped up a bit. And everything just looks a lot more vibrant. For a lot of the footage from my Katana Mavic tray video, whenever I was shooting in D-Log and then color grading, I was using a lot of Purity. Of course, if you're using Premiere, you can also use these other adjustments like faded film and sharpness and vibrance if you really want to get things vibrant, which is way too much for this particular shot, and then saturation. Here we go. This is when I was on campus at Sand Hills Community College. I saw these guys playing basketball. Let's try Classic on this one. That looks really cool. Look at how vibrant the green and the blue of the sky. Let's try another one. Purity. That looks a little more true to life though. It really brought down the saturation, but I think that's a little bit more what your eye would actually see if you were there in real life. And of course, if your white balance was off or you want to create like a feeling of like this is a really hot day, which it was, you can use Purity Warm like I am right now. Or maybe Electra Warm if you really want things to look hot and stylized. One more here. This is in some sort of enclosure inside of a garden. Not sure what it's called, but let me go through some of the looks and see what we can get out of here. Classic. Classic looks really nice here. I love that saturation. Let's go to Night. Night looks a little more drab here. Looks kind of depressing. kind of a sad mood. Morpheus brings back some of that warmth a bit. Electra. Electra brings out a little bit of a purplish tone now. I'm not sure if I really like that for this scene. But if we were to go to Electra Warm, now it looks like we're shooting this in like Arizona, really, really hot. Also, I'm not entirely sure that I like how bright things are. You can kind of see on the edge of this flower pot or whatever this thing is, things are a little bit blown out, so I can actually bring down the highlights just a hair, just like that. Now we have a little bit better exposed image, and we can do that because we're shooting in D-Log. We can actually do a lot more fine-tuning with our highlights. Okay, let's go to the Phantom 4 Pro footage now. So this is a challenging clip because I shot this later on in the day, so we need to find a LUT that's going to work with us. So browse, let's see what Classic does. Classic is a little dark for me. We could up the highlights, but even setting that at 100, I'm not sure if that's bright enough. So let's go back to Creative and let's go to Purity. Purity is a bit brighter already, so now if we do highlights, we definitely have a better exposed image. Let's go to 80 on the highlights there. We don't want too much because we don't want to get grainy. But here is one thing. So I remember I was actually using a sunny white balance, but since the sun was going behind the clouds and behind the trees back here, things are looking a little bit too blue for my taste. So if we actually use a Purity and we go to Purity Warm, there we go, that's a little more true to life. So because our white balance was off when we were shooting at the time, we can use a warm preset and we get some of our natural color back. Let's play that back and see what it looks like. Now here's me longboarding through a parking lot. Obviously very washed out, so we're gonna go through and we're still in Phantom 4 Pro, so let's go to Classic. Nice, look at the green of the grass. So the great thing about these presets are you don't really have to do a whole lot to get your color back, to get your look. Let's see what Purity does. Let's go to Classic. Classic kind of evens things out a little bit, and then we can add up a little bit of highlights. There we go. Let's head on to GoPro. So here we have GoPro shots. This is me just skateboarding, down shot of my legs. Go to Creative, Browse, and we go back to our LUTs. GoPro Pro Tune right there. Classic. A little dark. Let's brighten up the highlights. It gets brighter though as the clip goes on because I skate into the sun. So let's make this really, really warm. So I'm gonna go to a Purity Warm. There we go. So now we're skating in 90-degree weather right now. And here's another great shot of me shirtless. I don't know why I did this shirtless. Just one of those things, I guess. Classic, a little contrasty. If the exposure was a bit brighter, this might look better. I might have to bump up the shadows a hair and the highlights a hair. There we go. This is one of my favorite shots I took that day. It's a really low shot. I was using a selfie stick. Let's do Classic on this one. Now Classic looks awesome. Look at that. It's taking the warmness from the sun and just kind of casting this warm glow. Now this is a good example for maybe if you didn't want that warm glow, you could go to, let's do Purity Cool. Now everything has a bit more of a silver cast to it, and it's not quite so so warm. If that's something you want or don't want. Morpheus, wow. So with Morpheus, it really takes the blue of my wheels and kind of turns it almost a turquoise, but it really gives a cool look to this, matching the sky like that. And this one, because it's so well exposed, I really did a good job of exposing this particular shot. Let's go to Classic. Wow, Classic looks amazing on this. I don't think I want to do anything to this clip, honestly. Classic works great. Let's just experiment though. Maybe we can use another one. Let's go to Purity. Kind of blues up the sky. That's nice. Morpheus. Wow, look at that. Night. Electra. Maybe deep is a good one to use for this one. Let's go to deep. Deep looks a little bland to me for this one. I can definitely see deep being used in something like more of a dramatic piece, but for something that's showing sports and movement, I really feel like classic is the way to go. I just love the evenness of the colors. Yep, that's it. So what do I think about these presets? Well, I think they're good. I think they're very useful. I don't personally shoot in D-Log too much, but for someone who does or who wants to get into it a little bit more, they're definitely useful for getting started. I do think that they're a little pricey though. At $30, I wish I could have had a few more choices to pick from. They say that there are 12 different presets, but a lot of those are the warm and the cool versions, and so you really only get 6 actual different styles. I would have loved to see a monochromatic version, or maybe a version that was a little more extreme. Maybe something that had a lot of a sepia tone or something like that. Still, I think it's really cool that PolarPro is kind of branching out into the software realm. Now, each of these preset packages are specifically designed for that particular camera. So the Mavic Pro presets are fine-tuned for D-Log shot from a Mavic Pro. But I have found that I can kind of use one style of preset with another camera. I've used some GoPro presets with the Mavic Pro and they seem to work pretty well. You just have to do a little bit of tweaking and you can make it work. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Check the video description for a link to these different preset packages. Also check out edrickard.com for all of the drone and video accessories that I use to make these videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Until next time, happy editing. By the way, I know someone's gonna ask, this is a Wacom tablet glove. Enables you to control your mouse like this with very little friction on your hand.